Commission. Roll call, please.
Mr. Damasco.
Here.
Mr. Karich is not here. Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Shemanek.
Here.
Mr. St. Marie.
Here.
Mr. Vant is not here. And Mr. Woods.
Here. Very good. I declare quorum present.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Bond. I'm General Counsel for the City of Wooddale. There is not this evening a Community Development Commission Chair, so in order to have the proceedings move forward, the body needs to designate a Chairman Pro Tem for the Wooddale Community Development Commission. So it would be appropriate to make a motion. Mr. Shemanek has indicated he'd be willing to serve in that capacity. I will certainly assist with him in those regards. So it would be a motion would be in order to designate him as a chair pro temp for this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Otherwise, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed indicate by saying nay. The motion carries, and you are now the designated chair pro tem. So if you wish, you can move forward, or if you want to designate me to assist in that regard, I'd be glad to do so.
Very good. Mr. Bond, I'll be happy to designate you in that regard, so you can move this forward.
Thank you very much. You have before you the minutes from the September 17th, 2018 meeting. If everyone's had an opportunity to review those, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 17th, 2018.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. There is one public hearing item on the agenda for this evening. Any testimony that anyone wishes to provide will be given under oath. They will be sworn prior to providing that. The hearing will be an opportunity for the public to offer any testimony and or comment to the plans here for the Board of Library Trustees for the Wooddale Public Library requesting a major site plan special use. So following the public hearings, this body will deliberate and the deliberations will be open to the public, and anyone who wishes to is invited to participate and watch. The public can only speak during the time designated for such. They will not be able to speak during the board's deliberations. Pursuant to state statute, a vote of the majority of the members of the Community Development Committee will be necessary in order for the matter to be referred to the City Council. Those matters which the Community Development Commission will make a final decision for that recommendation. In this regard, staff will provide a general description of the proposal and followed by a staff analysis of the plan. And we would ask that the applicant is here tonight to give specific evidence to demonstrate that the proposal meets the standards of approval for the request. The burden is on the applicant to do so. With respect to others who wish to speak, anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter, you can give your opinion or provide any specific evidence as to why you believe that the applicant meets or fails to meet the standards set forth in the request. And this board will strictly adhere to the schedule prepared for tonight's meeting. In the case of the applicant, you or your attorney have filed an application, you'll be afforded an objection rather. You'll be afforded sufficient time within which to present your evidence and present your information. Whether you're a member of the public wishing to make a statement for the record or a witness testifying on behalf of the applicant or an objector, you'll be placed under oath and begin by stating your name and address. If you're not presenting evidence on behalf of the applicant or the objector, your remarks will be taken after the applicant and all those who have filed an appearance to speak as an objector have presented their evidence and comments. You'll be subject to question by the Community Development Commission and the applicant. To allow as many people as possible to be heard, if you're not an applicant or objector, we would request that you limit your remarks to 5 minutes. If additional time is necessary, the hearing can be continued to the next available date. So I will now call the matter before us this evening, the public hearing. This is case number 2018 CDC 08 in regard to a special use plan unit development and major site plan review for the expansion of the Wooddale Public Library located at 520 North Wooddale Road. And at this time, staff, if you could please provide the board with a summary of the request that the applicant has made, indicate when the notice for this particular public hearing was published, and whether or not you have the certificate of publication for the newspaper we can include as part of the record.
Would you raise your right hand, state your name and address, please?
Kelly Chrissy, 404 North Wooddale Road.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Thank you. So this is for the library addition and renovation for the Wooddale Public Library located at 520 North Wooddale Road. The public hearing notice was published on September 25th, 2018, and the certificate of publication is on file. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of Wooddale Road and School Street. It's highlighted here in orange. The zoning is, the zoning of the subject property is R2, large lot, single family. The zoning to the north is industrial. However, it's occupied. I can't see it. It actually has a detention pond just north of it. And then surrounding the property is single-family zoning to the south, east, and also to the west. The existing conditions, it is a wooded lot. It contains currently a 22,300 square foot single-story library. There are 58 parking stalls that wrap around the building to the south. There was a previous special use granted to the property in 1979 to operate the library. A variation was granted in 2000 to increase the lot coverage to 45.4%. And then in 2008, there was a special use granted for the property that is adjacent to, it's shown here in the lighter blue, to use the residential structure for the library offices. The request before us tonight is seeking a special use amendment to be able to expand the library, PUD, and also a major site plan review. Here are some photographs of the existing library. Here's taken from Wooddale Road. This is an area where the parking will be expanded on the north side of the property, where School Street is located off to the right. This is looking south to an adjacent residential dwelling unit. This is, again, along that south area. You see it's highly vegetated even there, and then this is along the south property line. Again, there's residential on the left side of the shrubbery. This is then a photograph of the back of the existing library. The proposal includes a, there we go, it's out of order, apologize for that. A 3,800 square foot addition, which is the darker blue. There has been a deviation requested to permit a type 9 building. Since this site essentially acts more commercial in nature because of the parking lot and signage, lighting and all of that, the applicant has requested to build not a single family dwelling unit, but more of a type 9, and so we have the building typologies and the zoning regulations, and so that is one of the reasons for that request. There's also, as part of this type 9 construction, it is a setback from the adjacent residential properties is supposed to be 15 feet. They're asking to reduce that to 13.5 so that they can continue the existing structure and keep the addition in line with that existing structure. They're also going to be adding 12 parking stalls along School Street using an existing drive aisle that will be widened. They will be adding a patio off of the addition to be able to allow patrons to enjoy the outside. There will be a sidewalk extended on the south side of that addition to be able to provide pedestrian access to the existing parking lot. There's no change to the parking lot on the south side of the building. They have requested a deviation from the 10-foot foundation landscaping setback in order, and that's due to the fact that there are large overhangs and the setbacks and a fence on the north side would really limit the amount of landscaping that would be able to survive in this location, so they're requesting the deviation from that. There's also on the north side of the property, and I apologize that this doesn't work, but it's in purple and it's along School Street. An 8-foot tall privacy fence is being proposed to screen. There are currently 2 existing dumpsters. There's the bookmobile parking and also some mechanical units. So those will be screened with an 8-foot tall fence. And then there's also a proposal to construct an 8-foot tall fence around the perimeter where it is adjacent to the residential properties. And that is to improve the privacy for those adjacent residential properties for them. The 8-foot tall fence is actually a requested deviation. And again, this is a residentially zoned property, but acts more commercial in nature. And so for commercial properties, an 8-foot tall fence is permitted. And so the applicant has requested an 8-foot tall fence to be able to be constructed here. Couple other, whoops, let me go back one here. There are a couple other deviations for landscaping, and as you can see, it is a wooded lot from the photographs as well as the site plan here. And so they've requested some deviations for the landscaping because they feel as though it already meets the intent of the landscaping regulations. So in addition to the 10-foot foundation landscaping elimination, they're looking to eliminate the requirement for installing landscape islands at the end of the parking rows, and that's to be able to minimize the amount of, maximize the amount of parking while still having the existing screening meet that intent. They will be adding landscaping to the existing island. Again, I'm going to have to try and figure, here we go. Right here, they're going to increase the landscaping here to be able to meet that requirement. They've also requested to eliminate the shade trees, which are required along the perimeter, given the fact that they already have a wooded lot, and again, that intent is being met with the current landscaping. In terms of stormwater management, and the lighting, and I'll start with the lighting. There are a couple triangles shown here in blue. These are general locations or approximate locations of existing light poles. These light poles have a 360-degree distribution, which means that there's a lot of light trespass going on to the adjacent residential properties. So what the library is proposing is that they'll retain the one fixture that's noted here in yellow, and they will change out the fixture so that it is directed towards the library property. And with the addition of the 8-foot tall fence, they think that they can significantly reduce the amount of light trespass going on to those adjacent properties. With regards to the stormwater management, they're proposing a grate to be able to then take the water into an underground storage unit. Then they're going to pipe it back up to School Street. They're going to add another manhole and then connect to an existing manhole on the existing storm sewer. For the parking lot, this will be graded to be able to catch another dry well, and then that will be piped underground to an existing manhole for the existing storm sewer. I do want to note with the lighting that the applicant is requesting a deviation from the minimum and maximum lighting levels at the property line. And again, that has to do with they're reducing the amount of light trespass. And so by doing so and given the location of existing poles, they would not be able to meet the minimum lighting level on the parking lot, but they're going to add some additional wall packs onto the building to be able to provide better lighting. And given the fact that the vehicles are along the building, they feel that that's sufficient, and the city engineer has concurred with the lighting levels that are being proposed. The existing floor plan, I realize that this is a little bit difficult to read here on the PowerPoint. However, almost all of the interior walls are proposed to be demolished. And so there's a pretty significant interior renovation that's being proposed as part of this proposal. With the proposed floor plan, This large blue area here is proposed to be the collection area, and it will have the stacks. There will be a youth services area here in green, some activity rooms which will provide some flexible meeting and public gathering spaces, as well as perhaps some classroom-style activities and things. There's, in the purple here, some small group rooms. There's a computer lab, and then the majority of the other space is support services, and so there will be a pretty significant renovation as part of the addition. And so I want to say that the addition kind of starts somewhere in here, where everything to the left then is the addition. So here are a couple renderings to show what the library expansion might look like. This is from the rear, looking at the existing parking to the new addition. So it will carry on the existing architecture through the new addition. Then on the interior, this would be the kind of collection area, the large main area. And then here's a rendering of what one of the activity spaces might look like with a classroom setting. In terms of the findings of fact for the special use, as I stated previously, this is essentially an amendment of the prior special use to allow the operation of the library, but it is being expanded, not only the building, but also the services that are being provided, and I'm sure that the library would be able to speak more to those services. It does have minimal impact to adjacent neighbors, and in fact, trying to improve the reduce the amount of light trespass, and also being able to provide additional privacy for those adjacent residential properties. There is no proposed change in the ingress or egress for the site. In terms of the findings of fact for the PUD, there will be a requirement to grant an easement over the stormwater management, best management practices. Those are the dry wells and the piping. The residential, with the design of the building, it is going to retain that residential feel and still single story. There is, again, the installation of the fence to buffer uses between the library and the adjacent residential. And I apologize, there's a lot of standards here for PUDs, but I'm going to kind of summarize a couple more. The project does support the comprehensive plan goals to improve existing and create new and fun public spaces for residents, and improve community services and intergovernmental coordination. And so staff has found that all of the applicable findings of fact for the special use and PUD have been met. And then we have one more request, which is the site plan review. So the city engineer did review the proposal and has given approval for the project. The Wooddale Fire Protection District has also reviewed and given approval. The building administrator has also reviewed and given a conceptual approval for the building. And again, reducing light trespass and improving the privacy of the neighboring residents then has all led to findings of met for all of the standards for the major site plan review. And so in closing, staff is recommending approval, finding that it is consistent with the UDO and also consistent with the comprehensive plan. There are 3 conditions that staff has recommended in the memo, and to summarize, it's substantial conformance with the plans that are submitted as part of the staff memo, granting the drainage easement for the installation of the BMPs with language to allow the city to maintain if necessary, and then also to record a note to title for the BMP, which is standard that we do for all best management practices installed. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does any member have any questions for staff regarding the report that was made or anything in connection with this project? Yes.
How many trees are we gonna lose right on Wooddale Road? Do you have an idea of the amount of trees they're gonna be taking out, the shade trees?
So the trees, there is, if you look, and I apologize, I didn't include this in the presentation. If you look on the demolition architectural site plan, it's Exhibit C-1. There are no trees proposed to be removed along Wooddale Road. The trees that are proposed to be removed are the ones that will be impacted by the improvements. And so you'll see that they're annotated in red. So are you looking, Mr. Woods, for a total count?
No, I just want to know what we're going to lose on, if we were losing anything on Wooddale Road for the look of the library.
Nothing will be removed along Wooddale Road.
Any follow-up questions on that? Anyone have any other questions?
I have a question for you on the west end. What's the grade difference between that pad and then the flow of the land behind it?
Could you clarify the pad, the building addition?
The pad, on the addition, yeah,
Okay.
where the addition comes out. Then there's the green space behind it.
So the finished floor elevation is 714.3, and then the adjacent grade is 714. And then it slopes down to then, or excuse me, it's actually lower by the addition.
So it's 716 outside. How many on the other side of the storage well? And it's 714 at the end of the pad. So it's a 2-foot difference there.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a 2-foot drop. So that's just going to be a gradual rise in that length, 2 feet.
That is my understanding. I can certainly allow, I believe that the engineer for the applicant is here and may be able to explain that in further detail.
That would be great.
Any other members of the commission have any questions? All right. Hearing none, anything further from staff?
I have nothing further.
Terrific. Would the applicant like to make a presentation and provide any additional information and answer the question that's been raised for the commission?
Yes.
And if you could just identify yourself for the record, and you can go to the podium if possible, if you need.
Yeah. Would you raise your right hand, please, and state your name and address?
My name is Yvonne Beechler-Bergendorf. I reside at 21W745 Dorchester Court in Glen Ellen, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may proceed. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I first want to start off by thanking the City of Wooddale staff who's worked with our team to bring us to this point today. I certainly appreciate the efforts of the city. And as well, thank you to the committee for your consideration of our project. So my job today is to talk about how the library meets the goals within the city's plans, which is the Goal 1, Objective 1, improve existing and create new and fun public spaces for residents, and Goal 2, Objective 3, improve community services and intergovernmental coordination. So at this time, I kind of want to give you an overview very quickly about what the library provides to the community and how our services are appreciated and seen by the residents, and how we are meeting needs, and how this project, when our team comes up, will be able to expand what we do. It's one thing to say that we currently have 209 meetings in our existing public space per year, but it's another thing, and I have props, to know when we have been giving the Girl Scout Community Award of all the partnership activities that we've done to support scouting. We've also sponsored Eagle Scout projects, and we worked heavily with local youth organizations for our meeting room space. We have some study rooms that are used, and one of the big partnerships that we have is with Literacy DuPage, and helping to improve English as a second language and for lower language skills. The library is a consistent partner where they utilize our services. And I have an award we just received on Saturday, which is in recognition of your support and enduring commitment to adult literacy, Library Partner 2018. And again, you'll see in the plans about the study rooms and the flexible space, how we're going to be able to further our support of this mission. We've also talked with Literacy DuPage about how we can help to reach out and serve this business community once this project is completed with additional space, because that is one of, this area is one of the targets for improving workplace education and furthering economic development. So that's with Literacy DuPage. We also are very heavily involved for intergovernmental cooperation with School District 7. You may not be aware, but we had 69 class visits at our facility last year. Our staff did 57 off-site visits at the Early Childhood Education Center, and we had the Park District over at our facility for 17 sessions. So when you think about the level of activity, the additional programming space will allow us multiple rooms, so we'll be able to serve these constituents more effectively. We also have a big commitment for lifelong learning for adults. We have several significant authors that come in to do education to our residents, oftentimes being packed. I'm going to show. These are different authors that have come in to present to help enrich lifelong learning. And I'm gonna move the stacks around to show the different authors. But probably one of the most prominent author we had, of which we had to limit with our existing room, is when we had Clint Hillen. He's a Secret Service agent with Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. And we garner national authors that come to our facility, and being able to have the additional space to help support those types of programming would certainly be helpful. And again, when more people come to the library and use to support our programs, they come into town, they buy gas, they stop at the store, they go to the grocery store. They all help support economic development in town. And finally, before I turn it over, I'm going to tell you one of the most rewarding things that we get is our touch that we have with our early learnings. All the studies show that children need to be ready before kindergarten. And I have a beautiful thumbprint item that was presented to the library that says, "You've touched many lives with books, ECEC 17-18. So the library not only is integral with these programs, but we're also a socioeconomic backbone support. We have the food pantry that we partner with. We partner with the Rotary and the school district to provide winter coats and clothing. We help people in our computer labs apply for jobs, training, all of the things that we want to be and represent to the community. And the wonderful plans that you're going to hear are going to expand our ability to have a positive impact on our shared constituents and residents. And now I am going to have to pick up my piece of paper that just floated to the ground. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to turn it over to our lovely team that we have here. And I'm going to start. We have Studio GC. We have Elizabeth. And we have Pat. And then we have our civil engineer, Harlan. And then we have our attorney, Mark. So thank you for listening and your support of literacy and efforts in the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And I think the board certainly appreciated the props as well. So, show and tell. Who's next to speak in connection with that? If you could go to the podium, please identify yourself and by name and title or position as well.
My name is Pat Callahan with Studio GC Architects, one of the project principals.
Mr. Callahan, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. So my presentation this evening is going to be a little more of embellishment on staff's presentation, but I'll start, Commissioner, to address your question specifically related to the grading. The building pad is set at 714. The catch basin rim elevation is 713, and then that area slowly tapers back up at about a 3% slope towards the back of the property, so it becomes the low point directly adjacent to the patio. Does that address your question?
Yeah, and that's typical as far as the slope?
Yes, 3% in order to make. 3 to 1. I'm sorry? 3 to 1. 3 to 1, I'm sorry, 3 to 1. So that is typical, especially for maintenance purposes on the back side of the property. But the water is intended to come from the property line inward to that basin and then out to the storm system itself. So we're keeping the water on the library's property.
Very good.
So this evening, we're very excited to finally share with the community the hard work that the library has been taking on, and that is really the expansion of the existing library. Now, back obviously in 1979 and 2000, there was some variance requested, and we believe that what we're asking for this evening is consistent with those. The nature of the addition in specific is really designed to create more flexible space within the existing environment. Libraries today have changed quite a bit in terms of the types of things that they offer community, and it's really more about gathering spaces and creating opportunities in addition to literacy. Books are still very important, but this addition provides for an expansion of public space and the ability for that space to be flexible for all ages to be able to utilize. The addition on the rear side of the building is the most appropriate addition given the construction, and that's the reason why we wanted to maintain the architectural appearance of the building and keep the addition consistent with the original construction, both inside and out. However, the inside does allow us to have some wider spans so we can enhance that flexibility because there's some folding partitions that allow it to be used different times of the day for different groups within the library itself. Obviously, with an expansion of the library, the need for additional parking, which we have complied with, but that stormwater as well as parking is going to necessitate the removal of some trees in order to accommodate those, but more inboard to the property as opposed to along the property perimeter. The fencing is really designed to keep the activity zones separate from the residents to provide some privacy for the residents from what the activities that will occur around the perimeter of the west side of the library. And then the 8-foot fence is really designed to enhance that even a little bit further. The remainder, and that is the lighting cutoff, is really predicated. I want to make sure it's predicated because we're reusing the existing base. And since it is a 360-degree throw right now, that light trespass does go on the property to the east, and our objective is to reuse that base that just happens to be between the edge of the parking lot and the property line, and put a new pole and head on it and allow the light wash to be more on the library property, and then really leverage the fence as well as the light cutoff to minimize any lighting trespass to the east. Can you go to the renderings, or do I have this? Oh, I'm sorry, I do. Okay. So again, as far as the floor plans are concerned, obviously the building was constructed in 1979 with some expansion, some renovation in 2000. What this really, the renovation within the library really allows us to kind of take an existing building and update it to what really needs to be modern day standards of 21st century libraries and communities. And so that those interior renovations to the staff areas enhance toilet facilities for the patrons, but also make the staff areas more efficient, and also provide for an opportunity really to take what I'll call the stacks or the original floor plate where all the books are, make that a little more flexible and leverage the existing meeting rooms by complement to the addition to give us more community-based space for programs and activities. Again, the appearance of the library is intended to be really match the existing architecture, but also to recognize that contextually it sits within a residential area, and we want to make sure that it is in keeping with what the area is zoned for, but recognize that it is a commercial structure and being utilized for public service. And again, the interior, for the most part, will match the existing structure, open structure on the inside. However, the stacks and those areas will be adjusted and modified accordingly to allow for more patron space, whether it be seating, aisleways, et cetera, ADA accessibility, those kinds of things. And then obviously, what we believe is probably the richest portion of the building, which is really the backside of where the addition is really to make this flexible. It can be broken into 2 rooms, one large open room, can be open to the library. So again, as we develop programs such as authors, et cetera, which are usually very popular and you can never predict how many people are going to come, this will give the library the flexibility it needs to really make sure that all citizens have the opportunity to enjoy these programs that are being offered. And we concur with staff's assessment on the findings of fact, so rather than belabor that any further, that's all I have right now.
Thank you very much. Does anyone on the commission have any questions for this individual? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on behalf of the applicant? This time. Okay. Very good. Any questions so far with anyone who's spoken? If not, does anyone have any objection to the plan of the application? Anyone in the audience here today? Did the community development receive any notifications, any inquiries relative to the plan?
We have not received any inquiries regarding this proposal.
Okay. Anyone in the public audience who would like to address either in favor of or against or make any comments relative to this particular plan? Now would be the opportunity to do so. Or as they say in church, or for a hold of peace. All right. If not, then I would ask if there's anything further from staff.
I have nothing further.
So there would be no additional testimony. I would suggest that a motion would be in order to close the public hearing for...
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Did we want to give the applicant an opportunity to make any closing statement?
Would the applicant wish to make any closing statements? I saw a collective shaking of heads before, behind you. Give them the opportunity.
My back's to them, I can't see.
Probably from a lawyer not to allow somebody to seize the opportunity to speak, but that being the case. So I would, at this time, entertain a motion to close the public hearing for case number 2018 CDC 08. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Public hearing is closed. So now, as a body, you can proceed to the merits of the request. You have seen the findings of fact by staff. Relative to that, you've seen the renderings and all the other details of the plan. So is there any comment, any discussion, any questions anyone has relative to the matter now before you? There being none, there is a suggested motion. Let me see if we got that. So the suggested motion would be to recommend make finding, first of all, the Community Development Department findings that the request for a special use, plan unit development, and major site plan review to construct an addition and renovate the Wooddale Public Library is compatible with the surrounding zoning and land use classifications, that it meets the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance, and it is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan And based upon the above recommendations, that the plan submitted, the petition, and the testimony presented, that the plan special use and development meets the standards of approval and is consistent with the UDO and comp plan, and there'd be a motion that the Community Development Commission adopt the findings of fact that were recited in the hearing and included in the staff memo as the findings of this body, also with 3 recommendations that were presented, and that is that the approval requires that the applicant substantially comply with the staff memo dated October 15, 2018, along with the exhibits that were provided with that staff memo, that a drainage easement be granted and recorded upon the installation and approval by the city engineer of the stormwater best management practices, and the easement includes language that would allow the city to maintain and or repair in the event that there is a failure by the owner to do so, and the city can seek reimbursement for the cost of that maintenance and repair, and that the title shall be recorded to identify the existence of said easement. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second it.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? Any comments anyone on the commission wishes to say about the project? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Mr. Damasco?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Schmanik?
Yes.
Mr. St. Marie?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. The motion carries. The motion is to recommend the approval of the proposed special use and PUD major site plan review at 520 North Wooddale Road, and that motion carries. So thank you very much for your presentation. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but you're free to go should you wish. Is there any report from staff?
The next meeting, just as a heads up, is, I believe it's November 27th, which is the Monday after Thanksgiving. Currently, we have no petitions, but I just wanted to make everyone aware that that is our normal, or our meeting date. Actually, let me check that.
What's the date?
I believe it's actually the week of Thanksgiving, so it's November 19th, I apologize. So that's the week of Thanksgiving. So if somebody is not able to make it, if you could let me know, but as of right now, we don't have petitions, so we just want to make sure if we do get a petition that we have a quorum. That's all I have.
Very good. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There being a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.